Welcome to another edition of Tech Trends, the #1 tech show on television. We're glad to have you join us. Do you sometimes find it hard to decide what phone to buy next, simply because of the operating systems? Well, today on the review segment, we'll be looking at the latest versions of two popular operating systems and what makes them different. On the mobile app segment, we will introduce you to a mobile app you should be using on a daily basis. And on the guest interview segment, we'll be speaking with a UK-based mobile evangelist who will be sharing his thoughts on Africa's mobile market. Don't go away.
Nigeria's commercial capital, Lagos, is hosting the 2015 Social Media Week, a 5-day global platform that examines one of history's biggest shifts in communication. This year's theme is the rise of a connected Africa, which aims to explore and promote conversations on media and emerging trends. Speakers and participants during this event are also expected to discuss business and entrepreneurship, development, marketing, advertising, amongst other topics. This is the third time that the event is being held in Nigeria, attracting entrepreneurs, bloggers, and web experts from around the world. One of the speakers was Amara Nwakpa, director of the Public Policy Initiative for the Shehu Musa Yaradua Foundation. While Nigeria finds itself in the midst of a highly contested election year, Nwakpa uses the platform to discuss the topic of citizens and elections and how technology can help support free, fair and credible elections as Nigeria prepares for its presidential poll set for March the 28th.
Social media helps with transparency because you've got social media brings together the largest aggregation of eyes, pairs of eyes around the election. So you get perspectives from millions and millions of people actually witnessing the elections from different perspectives. So it provides a lot of information about elections that can help improve, that aspect of transparency. And of course, if you now pay attention to this information, you can also improve the accountability around the elections. And of course, if the perspectives of these millions of people line up with what eventually is presented as the outcome of the elections, then you can also have credibility around the outcomes of the elections.
Social Media Week is part of a global franchise in 23 cities, with Lagos being the first African city to ever host the event in the continent. More Africans are beginning to spend time on the internet, especially since the advent of internet-enabled handheld devices. Chuks Ojido, Deputy Director for Reclaim Niger, a community-based life project, says social media is not all for the internet-savvy people, but for those who are not able to access the web.
One of the things to recognize is that we have traditional social media network existing in virtually every community where people socialize and get information across. Even before the advent of mobile phones, people gathered in certain places, at funerals, at events, at hairdressing salons. That's where information flows. We need to use those channels to reach people who are not on new media and on social media. So essentially what we do is to try to work with these groups, community groups, and use them as a channel for mobilizing them to be engaged in the process, and also to use them to bridge the gap between what is happening on social media and the information they need to know at the grassroots level.
Ngozi Odita, co-founder and executive director of Social Media Week, said the event had spurred a global conversation on the evolution of social media, leading a bigger turnout of participants every year.
People were very interested in the conversations Nigerians were having, and just Africans in general, about what they're doing with social media and how it's literally changing their lives and just the landscape across Nigeria and Africa. So I think that was kind of like the milestone of what was big in the first year. And then it just continued to grow, and now we're in the third year. Over 1,000 people just come in one day, and I think that's pretty amazing. And from everywhere, from South Africa, from people came from Abuja, we had people from Europe. So I think it's really great that everyone wants to participate and see how we can use this platform to kind of make this greater impact that is local but is global at the same time.
Popular social media users believe that a better broadband internet service in Nigeria and other parts of Africa will enable more people to better leverage on the opportunities of social platforms. Only 16% of the 1 billion people in Africa buoyed by mobile telephony are on the internet. At the newly opened Epicenter office complex in central Stockholm, office workers can now open doors and operate the photocopier with a chip implanted in their hands. The so-called RFID, that's radio frequency identification chip, is made from Pyrex glass and contains an antenna and microchip with no need for batteries. Now, instead of identification cards and passcodes, all the worker has to do is wave their hand in front of a sensor. It currently enables them to open doors, operate a photocopier, and swap contact details via a smartphone.
It felt pretty scary, but at the same time it felt very modern, very 2015.
The high-tech Epicenter office block was inaugurated last month and aims to bring innovative companies, large and small, together under one roof. Co-founder and CEO Patrick Mesterton said his office complex was the ideal location to test such a technology.
The chip is the size of a larger rice grain. It's about 12 millimeters in size. That's put in with a syringe. And it sends an RFID code, so it's an identification tool that can communicate with objects around you. So practical here, you can open doors using your chip. You can do secure printing from our printers with the chip, but you can also communicate with your mobile phone by sending your business card to individuals that you meet.
While the current range of benefits the chip offers is rather limited, Mesterton said the aim is to explore what possibilities the chip represents and see how products and services can be developed around the technology. In future, as the applications that can be used with a chip are developed, the hope is that workers in the building will be able to purchase food in the canteen and even check their health. He said that unlike a mobile phone, the chip could not be tracked, and he did not see any integrity issues.
You have your own identification code and you're sending that to something else which you have to grant access to. So there's no one else that can sort of follow you on your ID, so to say. It's you who decide who gets access to that ID.
The chipping is entirely voluntary and, according to the manufacturers, completely safe. Since the amount of metal in the chip is so small, there's no risk of it setting off metal detectors, and it's also safe during MRI scans and when using an induction oven. It's also very unlikely to break inside of the body as it's buffered by the surrounding skin and tissue. Australian researchers have unveiled the world's first 3D printed jet engine, a manufacturing breakthrough that could lead to cheaper, lighter and more fuel-efficient jets. Engineers at Monza University and its commercial arm, Amero Engineering, are making top-secret prototypes for Boeing Co. Airbus Group NV, Raytheon Co. and Safran SA in a development that could be the saviour of Australia's struggling manufacturing sector. Dr. Robert Hobbs, who is the outgoing CEO of Amero, told the Australian Broadcasting Corporation on Tuesday, February the 24th, the 3D printing can cut production times for components from 3 months to just 6 days.
The big advantage is that
Simon Marriott, the incoming CEO of Amero, the private company set up by Monash to commercialize the product, explained that they plan to have printed engine components in flight tests within the next 12 months and certified for commercial use within the next 2 to 3 years. Australia has the potential to corner the market, and it has one of only 3 of the necessary large format 3D metal printers in the world. France and Germany have the other 2, and is the only place that makes the materials for use in the machine.
Android 5.0, also known as Lollipop, and Windows 8.1. Both have been the best updates released so far for the Google's Android and Microsoft Windows Phone operating system. Now, depending on your preference, you would find out that Windows is more lightweight and cleaner, while Android is packed with awesome features and option to customize as desired. So which one is the best? Well, it depends. Let's find out. Both Windows and Android come with several unique features. Android 5.0 has tons of features, while Windows Phones 8.1 lags behind a bit. With Windows Phones 8.1, Microsoft introduced a notification center, battery sense, Wi-Fi sense, and handful of new features. Google wowed the audience with Android 5.0, including an actionable notification, that is, heads-up notification, smart lock, improved battery saver, and much more. When it comes to performance, no other operating system can beat Windows Phone. Android is quite slow and laggy. The operating system is fast on some smartphone models depending on the level of customization. Windows Phone is truly the most optimized of both operating systems. It's fast and sleek on high-end devices and even on some low-end devices. The case of performance for Android is one where over customization can hurt performance big time. When it comes to user interface, Android and iOS look similar. They both share the tried and true grid of icons approach. Windows Phones or Metro takes a different, some may say daring approach with the user interface. While Windows Phones has certainly been more beautiful over the years, Android Lollipop finally catches up with material design. Here, Google introduces more animations and colors to the user interface, making Android feel almost as cohesive as Windows Phones and iOS in terms of design. Without bogging you down in details, the user interface of Android 5.0 is beautiful, smooth, and colorful. It certainly deserves the name Lollipop. The Google Play Store has so many of apps. You'll find an app for almost everything you can think of. That of Windows is still more limited, but also still has lots of great apps to choose from. Both of the app stores are great in their own way. Play Store is already big, and Windows Phone Store is